Good afternoon, everybody. How are you? It's so nice not to have these, for me, it's very nice not to have these face vests on, and I appreciate seeing faces again. Oh my God. I have a new toy, so look at this thing. So people that are trying to figure out how to use those 15-minute chunks, you can take this little thing, turn the dial, like I have 45 minutes, right? So I'm putting that red on 45, and I can watch as that red goes away, I know my time's going away, and a little alarm will go off. But you could do that for 15 minutes or 5 minutes, but anyway, that's my new toy from Amazon, $18. I'm sure Mr. Stinson would buy one for you if you needed one, if you needed that for the chunks. Let's begin by yes.
I was just going to say, I've been using, on my smartboard, it has a timer built in, and I've been using it.
Fantastic.
My kids, it gets to the end and I'm not finished, and my kids start cheering me on. Like, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it.
Yeah. So,
like, I can finish in time. I'm like, oh, I got to talk faster. And they're like, you can do it, Whipper, you can do it. They start cheering me on. And I'm like,
so in my observation thing, there's something called sense of urgency, and that helps you create that sense of urgency. The students know this is how much time you have, you've got to complete it by that time, and that helps create that sense of urgency. So that's a great strategy. That's a great strategy. Remind me, what is a learning target? What does this thing mean in relation to the 45 minutes that we have together today? What does a learning target mean?
what do you want us to know?
Yeah, that's what I hope you will know by the end of the 45 minutes. And I'm hoping you'll know it by what percentage accuracy?
80%.
That 80% of you will be able to master that by the end of the period. Now, in our case, we're using a flipped lesson design. And so I send you the knowledge-based information ahead of time. So I'm hoping you come in with that. So a lot of that I'm hoping you already know. But let's check it. So let's look at the ticket out the door first. And you can write on your ticket out the door right away. It's one of your handouts that I put in front of you. It's on the back of the lesson design.
I didn't. Oh, wait.
On the back, everyone has a ticket out the door? So right on this, so the first question is, for each criterion for success, the teacher will plan a method to both blank and blank. What are they? Yeah, collect information and or evidence, and document evidence is correct. So either one of those boxes, put collect in one and documenting in the other. Which one is short term? Collecting is short term. If during a 90-minute period you walk around the room and you see someone doing it incorrectly at minute 2 of the 90-minute period, you give them some descriptive feedback and they get it by minute 90, you don't have to document it, right? You're collecting that evidence, you used it, you helped improve it, and now you can move on. But at the end of the 90-minute period, if they still don't get it, you may need to document it somehow so you can remember the next day I need to do something to handle that misconception. So that's the difference between collecting and documenting evidence. Any questions on that? And I had in the PowerPoint presentation all kinds of new methods for collecting and documenting evidence. Some of them involving smartphones, where people take pictures, they take little video clips, but there's all kinds of different ways that people are collecting and documenting evidence today that they didn't have back when I was teaching in the early 1980s when I started this process. Number 2, chunking involves planning lessons in what minute chunks? 0 to 15 is absolutely correct. And you have that flexibility because you're trying to find the right chunk of information to ensure the success of all of your students. So you're trying to find that perfect little sweet spot that everybody can be successful. So 0 to 15 minutes. Based on the student's average attention span. And that's on average today about 8 minutes. So students' attention span is about 8. The 15 comes from, we know we're starting to lose students at minute 8, but if we go all the way to 16, we're pretty much guaranteed that we've lost everybody. We've lost all their attention and we're wasting our time. So we stop at 15. Questions on number 2? And number 3, oh, yes.
Actually, here's my big question for that, because I'm running into this problem with these lesson plans you're trying to make. Group projects. You can't chunk a group project. So like if you're giving them the information, like you can chunk that part and then put them in the groups to do it. But like if you have a project, like a giant project for them to do that is project based, then you're not going to be able to do that in 15 minutes.
Yeah, so
How do
you can.
put that into your
So I've had projects.
criteria for success?
Okay, so you can do that. So every 15 minutes you need to do some kind of a check-in. So, so you need to either stop them and say, share out something that you're doing at this time. Where are you? So you need to have some check-in every 15 minutes to make sure everyone's using that time effectively.
So then on the lesson plan, do you put, I will share what we're
Yeah.
doing in this segment with, okay.
Correct, correct. So every 15 minutes, it's just important for you to check in with your students to make sure they're still on task, to make sure that time is still being used effectively, to see where they're at. If they finish it, you can stop. So yeah, so every 15 minutes, there needs to be some kind of check-in.
So in that, if I'm doing that active moving around and kind of checking in on them anyway, do I need to do a separate one, or is that going to suffice?
So we talked about different transitions, right? So the big ones that I've shared with you are depths of knowledge. So you're going from knowledge-based information to application of that knowledge to rigor. So that's one way to transition. And we also talked about transitions using gradual release responsibility model, right? Where you're shifting from I do to we do, to different kinds of we do, to shifting to you do activities. So those are two different strategies I've shown you in terms of transitioning between those 15-minute chunks. But another one, and we introduced that too, but it kind of goes with the we do activities, using cooperative learning structures, where you use a little bit of whole group, a little bit of putting pairs together, a little bit of quads, shift back to pairs, shift back to whole group. So those are all strategies you can do to go between those 15-minute chunks.
Now, I've seen the last one you talked about work brilliantly with my EC students.
Yeah.
Particularly when we do the pairs into quads.
Right.
That has worked fantastic.
Perfect transition.
I think the issue I have is bringing them back into the whole group and trying to have that discussion. Because as long as it's just, say, me and Ms. Campbell, we got it. Or if it's me and Ms. Campbell and two other folks, we got it. But as soon as I say, all right, let's come together, it's like,
Yep. And it takes training. It takes discussion, but you can do it. So before you go into quads, you might want to just do pairs for a while until they do that very well, and then take two pairs and put them together to create your quad. But you always have to come back to a whole group. I always started every one of my lessons whole group because I want to do my I do with everybody listening to me. And then I did some of the pairs and quads within my lesson design. But then at the end of every lesson, you have to do you do, right? So you have to go back to a whole group, sometime at least within the lesson, to see the level of mastery. So I always started every lesson in whole group, and I ended every lesson in whole group.
An easy way to go from quads to whole group is to make one person in the quad the group representative, and then they will represent the ideas that their group came out with together, and they'll be the speaker for that group, for the whole group. And so then it puts the responsibility on one person in the quad at a time, and then you can flip it and figure out what the whole.
Yep. Remember one of the ways we talked about for cooperative learning structures? We gave everybody an assignment, and we defined those assignments. So that's what she's talking about. That's an excellent strategy. That's an excellent strategy. So that you give everybody a task that they have to do, but you also define that task.
Do you have cards like that?
It's in one of your handouts. But you can make a copy of mine as long as you bring it back to me. Bring it back by the end of the day?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. All right, any questions on that? Yes.
I have a question. So I'm just trying to put this into like a science lab situation. So, you know, like I've got a lab, and for them to do the actual physical lab, like to make the measurements and put the stuff in the tubes and to do this and to do that, takes more than 15 minutes. So when I'm writing up my lesson plan, does that mean I need to chunk that part of it into 15-minute segments as well?
I can tell you that if you go beyond 15 minutes, you're wasting time. So you need to do some kind of transition in that period of time. So I can tell you that some of your groups will not be using the time effectively if you don't do some form of check-in with them every 15 minutes or less. It's 0 to 15. If you go beyond 15, there are going to be some students that are off task, I promise you. So all you have to do is check in.
In that kind of example, I think that if there's a sequence I think those sequence changes are almost chunkings in of themselves.
Right.
From measurement to pouring, you know, it's really about changing.
Yep.
So that it's not.
And just do a check-in.
That's right.
After a measurement, do a check-in. Did everyone get it? Do you-
I get,
I think maybe that's when we were facilitating at that time, but that changed, I think, in the lab from.
so I guess what I'm saying, I guess I didn't see it as, so like I put in my lesson plan, I'll participate in the hands-on activity, this lab I had, and I put 30 minutes. So what I should have done is subdivided it and chunked it, like I will do this part of the lab for this many minutes.
Correct.
This part of the lab for this many minutes.
That's right.
This part for this many.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep, that's it.
So when we're building these, no one part should be more than 15 minutes.
That's correct. That's correct.
That's where I missed
Yep.
out on.
Yep. And that has to do with student attention span and creating that sense of urgency for teaching and learning.
Okay, that's what I was missing.
All right, question number 3. The most effective strategy for motivating the unmotivated is chunking is absolutely correct. Finding that right size piece for every single student to feel successful. Chunking is the number one strategy for motivating the unmotivated. Any questions in your ticket out the door? This will be the bottom paper that you hand in today, that you staple together. The top paper will be your lesson plan. The second paper will be your peer review of your lesson plan. So those are the 3 papers today. Okay, so next time, day 8, the most difficult part of your ticket out the door next time are the 21st century themes and skills. It's in your study guide at the end, if you printed that. Or I sent you an email today with those themes and skills with day 8 materials. So I already sent that today. If you'll look at that for a second. Tell me one of the 21st century themes. It's at the very end.
Getting my fingers to work.
Yeah, I know. Mine too. Very end. There you go. There's the themes and the skills. One of the 21st century themes. What's that? Those are skills. So those are 2 skills already. No, it's you would have had to print yourself. It's the study guide I sent you.
Yeah.
But I also sent you an email today with the themes and skills in it.
Yeah, I didn't send it.
Okay? Anyone look at, does anyone have access to the email I sent you?
Go.
Does anyone have a phone that you can access your email?
This was sent.
Today?
Global awareness.
There we go. Global awareness is exactly correct. That's one of the 21st century themes. And what does global awareness mean? What's the little blurb after global awareness?
Bringing the outside world into the classroom.
Right. So on your ticket out the door next week, you need to write both global awareness, those 2 words, and bringing the outside world into the classroom. So on your ticket out the door next time, that's one of the themes. Give me another theme.
Financial, economic, business, and entrepreneurial literacy.
And all you need to write is financial. So you can cross out all those other words. And then what's the blurb?
You have to give something to get something.
That's correct. You have to give something to get something. You need to write that whole thing. You need to give something to get something. Give me another one.
Civic literacy.
Civic literacy. Tell me what it means.
We are the part of a democracy and we have a voice.
Right. We are part of a democracy and we each have a voice. That's civic literacy. Give me another one.
Health literacy.
Health literacy. All right. Tell me that one.
Decisions we make about how we take care of ourselves impact every aspect of our life.
That's correct. So decisions we make about how we take care of ourselves impact every aspect of our lives is health literacy. And the final one,
Environmental literacy.
and that is?
We use resources and resources are not unlimited. We create waste and waste takes space.
Exactly correct. These themes and skills have been part of your evaluation since 2007. So you're expected by legislation to incorporate these themes and skills into your classroom instruction within your lessons plan design. So it's been like that in North Carolina since 2007. So it's definitely important for you to know. There's no way for you to incorporate them if you don't know what they are. So that's one piece of it's extremely important. In terms of skills, there are a whole bunch of them, and they're broken down into categories. And you need to be able to tell me 5 of them that you use most often in your classroom. They include creativity, innovation, critical thinking, problem solving, communication, collaboration, contextual learning skills, informational literacy, media literacy, technology literacy, flexibility, adaptability, they kind of sound like the same thing, initiative, self-direction, social skills, cross-cultural literacy, productivity, accountability, leadership, responsibility, ethics, personal productivity, and people skills. All those things are skills. You need to know 5 of them, and hopefully the 5 that you use most often in your classroom. Any questions on the themes and the skills? All right, that takes care of that. That's the biggest part of your ticket out the door next time. All right, let's look at this piece of paper. The cow. Look it over first, and I'm going to ask you some questions. Look over the cow picture. Okay, look up when you're ready for my questions. You ready? Okay. So tell me, what does a cow represent in terms of unpacking curriculum standards? Which piece of the puzzle? The whole thing, which is, what's the top of the line when we start unpacking standards? Where do we begin? The North Carolina Standard Course of Study. So the whole cow is the North Carolina Standard Course of Study. For your school, that represents 8,100 minutes of time. 90 periods, 90 days. So in terms of your North Carolina Standard Course of Study, the whole cow represents 8,100 minutes. The next unit that we have in unpacking standards goes from the North Carolina Standard Course of Study down to a single standard. And we did that using a no-show chart. So we looked at the standard and we said, how many days is it going to take us to cover that standard? I can tell you there's some elementary standards that take 20 days to accomplish. So those elementary teachers would have 20 learning targets for that standard, because there's a learning target for each day involved. So the next unit is the standard, and in this case, the standard is the prime rib. So I chose that out of the cow. So we now have a prime rib, which is the standard. What's the next unit that we unpack into? Yeah, the next unpacking level is at the learning target level, which represents how many minutes in your school? How many? You have 97? Yeah. Oh, 97 minutes. Wow, you even have more time. Exactly right. I didn't know you had 97. That's great. So that's exactly 97 minutes worth. You have more than 8,100 minutes there. That's fantastic. So that's a learning target. So a learning target in terms of our prime rib would be, so we went from the whole roast down to one slice of that prime rib. But even a slice of prime rib is pretty big, right?
Yeah.
It'd be hard to shove that whole piece into our mouth. So the next level is cut it into smaller pieces, and we call those criteria for success. And we're trying to cut that slice of prime rib down to small enough pieces that every single one of our students can digest it properly. They can get it in and they're not going to choke on it. That's the whole process that we've been going through. Isn't that cool? I could do that with cake too, but I chose to use the prime rib. Mr. Stinson was going to bring prime rib today, but he just forgot this morning. He was bringing prime rib for everybody.
All the brisket in the freezer. Fired up.
But anyway, that's just another way to look. So that just gives you another way to look at all the things that we've done so far together. Any questions on unpacking curriculum standards as it relates to a cow? You don't look excited about this. It's cool.
Come on, Britt.
It's cool. All right, the majority of what we're doing today is, oh wait, I want to say one more thing, and I'm glad that Mr. Stinson is here. So I've been asking the question, but the question doesn't feel good anymore, so I'm just going to give the answer. So I'm going to tell you that this is your 7th time that you've seen the exemplar for the lesson design that I'm trying to get across. So this is if the more your lessons look like my exemplar, and this is the 7th one, the closer you're going to be to a number 1. The more it looks like mine, the better chances you have for a number 1. So in a few minutes, you're going to be doing peer feedback for one of your teachers. And I want you to give them a score after you do the peer feedback. A 1 would mean they understand it and can help others. That means that their lesson design looks just like mine. It has all the different components just like mine. A number 2 means they're beginning to understand. That means that they might have some 20-minute chunks or 25-minute chunks or 30-minute chunks. That means they can't be a 1 because it's 0 to 15-minute chunks.
Then, do you know what? I don't know that any of us will be a 1 because until today, you told us 20 minutes. Even when I was up there, I did 20 minutes and you didn't say anything about it being 15.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Okay. So I can tell you that the vast majority. So I can tell. I can tell you that I've graded. I've already assessed 3 groups and I've already handed them back in their boxes, and the majority were 1s today. So I can tell you that.
Okay.
So the majority have been 1s. Haven't they, Mr. Simpson? The majority have been 1s today. There's only been 3.
Brittany, it's okay here too.
Oh, I'm going to get a 1.
Brittany, I'm fixing mine right now because I'm handwriting out
Y'all
mine.
can peer, y'all can peer review each other.
Yeah, you're welcome to fix right now.
Way too extra.
Well, yours is not on 1 page anyway, so you do 2.
It was an
No,
extra.
you can have 2
I
pages.
wanted to eliminate the bond.
You can have 2
2
pages.
anyway because it's not on 1 page.
No, I didn't take off. I didn't take off anything for 2 pages.
Minutes until today.
I didn't either. Honey, I'm
page
fixing
is
That's why I
mine.
What am I
had the
looking
20-minute ones.
Right here, 12, 13, 14.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
All right.
Exactly.
So
You're 2, it's okay.
that wasn't even the point I was trying to make.
You're a 2 because I'm a 2 too.
I'm going to be a 1.
So,
Next week you can be 1 with me. Today will be 2, Brittany.
Lucky not a 3.
okay. So that wasn't the point I was going to make. So the point I was going to make is I'm going to say to you that my exemplar is not a lesson plan template. This is not a template. So this lesson plan exemplar is not a template. It's guiding a thought process for lesson design. And this lesson design has been around in North Carolina, just like your new evaluation system that started 2007. This lesson design has been in North Carolina since 2007 also. It's guiding the thought process for the International Standard for Teaching and Learning. The whole unpacking of standards is an international standard for teaching and learning. CTE has been doing it for much longer than 2007. JRTC has been doing it much longer than that. But we introduced it to all teachers in 2007. So again, it's not a template. The templates are determined by districts, not by DPI. But this is guiding the thought process for teaching and learning. Okay? Any questions on that? All right, so what I need you to do is I gave you a piece of paper that, just like last week, where you're going to assess your peers' lesson design and give them feedback. You can write on this piece of paper and you can write on their lesson plan. and give them critical feedback. At the end, you're going to determine whether they're a 1, 2, or 3. And then I'm going to look at it and either agree with you or disagree. So find,
Real quick, Mr. Kramer, before they
Okay.
not break us. So what we hope to continue, you know, is just kind of listening, and Mr. Kramer's been doing training with us for, you know, several months. We hope to, you know, the district has the template. We're hoping to continue this design into the last 30 days. You know, the reality is this is more about the components, the thought processes, and what takes place. You as the professional have to put it into the order. Of course, it's got a target at the top and assessment at the bottom. But that in between, whether you go, you do, I do, we do, I do, you do, we do, we do, we do, however you do that, that's you as a professional and how you get the feel from your class. So what our best hope is I've been working with the district and in the middle school, is to allow this model, you know, what the work we've been doing, to continue in the last, by the time we finish, it'll be probably like 30 days of school left, you know, maybe 5 or 6 weeks. That we continue that, then as a school improvement team and as a, you know, department chair, we'll get feedback. And then ultimately what my best hope is as the principal, is that, you know, the district has a template. Mr. Kramer has provided us you know, the components of thinking, and we come together. But when we come out of this wrestling match, that we will have a plan that goes out campus-wide, and it may be a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but at the end of the day, we're going to have something that we say, you know what? Because here's the reality, you know, we've got to keep adjusting and try to make improvement. So it might be the district, you know, with the mail strategy. We may figure out how to wiggle that and forever. But we'll take what we've learned through these 9 trainings, and we'll keep this going so that we can give it an honest experience. Because if I had to ask you, and I haven't necessarily got to the week, but if I had to say, can we go back and gather your district templates that you've done since September, and put them in your folder and turn them into me, I'd be willing to bet we don't have, you know, this many. You know, so the majority of us. Now there's some that will, the majority probably won't. At the end of the day, my hope is that we create something that, whether it's a page in a line or, you know, a half a page, that we have a plan that we're going from each day, and it contains the components of the thought process. With the learning target, that middle part is really your flavor, and then the evaluation or the check for understanding at the end with 80% mastery, and we get that piece in place. Because once we get that piece in place, then it can start rolling into our mastery charts and our other pieces to check for understanding, to go back and reteach. Now we're getting kind of into the advanced level. So again, I just wanted to share with you that I've been working with the district and the middle school to try to move towards, you know, what we don't want is a template being done over here for compliance, less than a 1-pager for Mr. Kramer just to bring here for compliance, and then you go to class tomorrow and you go, but this is what we're going to be doing today. That's not what we want. That wears people out.
correct.
So I'm trying to get into whatever this is what we're doing for the day, that's what we use, and we decide on that as a team, and we roll it out as a team so that we can support as a team. And it's not, well, you know, Mr. Stinson, I do this for the district, I do this, but if you really want to see what I do, it's in Canvas. You know, we need to, you know, we need to make sure we're all on the same page.
Yeah, so for many districts that I work with, this checkoff sheet that you have, that you're going to be using for peer review, becomes the guide for lesson planning. So it just has the components in it, and then how the teacher adjusts those components are up to the teacher, however best fits them. So this more looks like,
I would continue kind of the training. There's no need to go through this training
Right.
and then say, well, no need to do that anymore. Week 9's over, back to the template. Like that doesn't, we're not getting any traction out of this then. So my best hope is to continue this through the rest of this year. Then we have something we can truly compare with. We run it in our class to see what it's like, and then your department chairs to the school improvement team, and then we wrestle with whatever we want to decide, and then I take it to the district, to the ILC, and say, the staff at Anson High School want to do this as their lesson plan. And we need you to support it, and that's what we're gonna go.
Okay, so pair up with someone that you want critical feedback from and review their lesson plan and they review yours. And I love the conversations that have been taking place in the first 3 groups. So make sure you ask questions if you have questions and give them some positive feedback. And also some critical feedback. So who can, you're going to review his? Okay,
She definitely can.
excellent. What's,
I'm taking a minute.
okay.